I call the member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. There are times in this chamber when it almost feels like being Alice in Wonderland, because it's like you live in an alternate universe to the people on that side of the chamber, because the things that you say, not you, Deputy Speaker, but the members on the other side of the chamber, are disconnected, so fundamentally disconnected from the actual lived experiences of people like people in my community, that we must almost be living in different countries. We have all of these members of the government, from the minister who's turned his back on me down, none of them so far addressing the research released today by the Front Project. None of them addressing a survey of 1,700 families showing that 73% of families say the cost of childcare is a barrier to having more children. We have the member for Higgins saying, "Oh, isn't it wonderful? We say that families can have as many children as they want, as long as they're all under 5. She forgot that part of the impact of the government's policy, and no reference, none whatsoever, to the cost of childcare being a barrier to having more children to 73% of families. And while we're pretending this is a debating chamber for once, because they're not gagging us during the MPI like all the other times, let's also talk about some of the other ridiculous things that are said on the other side of the chamber. Oh, great, we announced a policy. Well, good, you did, after a long time of suggesting that Labor was lying and making up stories about why the childcare system was broken and needed to be fixed. So it would seem to me to be the fundamental basis of introducing reforms to accept that the system isn't working. Because what else were you doing when you were apparently reforming it? And let's also ask the people that have spoken before me in this debate and have lauded all of these families and their electorates are going to be better off. Have any of you told them they won't be better off for a year? I mean, they will be better off in 12 months, because there'll be a federal Labor government with a childcare policy that is so much better than yours that it puts yours in the shade.
Members on both sides.
The members of the government who are sitting over there, the child that's yelling at me, the member for Moncrief and the member for Higgins are talking about how much better people will be under this policy, and no one is talking about the fact it doesn't start for 12 months. And even then, 750,000 families will miss out. So maybe next time you're talking about your policies, maybe you talk about the actual details so that people know that they're not better off tomorrow or next week or next month. They're better off possibly in 12 months if you're re-elected. 750,000 people are left out, and the way that people will be better off under a reformed childcare system is if they vote for a Labor government. It was the 2nd of February of this year that The Age had an article in it entitled "High Childcare Costs Pushed 90,000 Parents Out of the Workforce." 90,000 parents out of the workforce. Right? 90,000 parents out of the workforce, members of the government, who keep talking about how amazing you are. And perhaps if you stop yelling at me and listen to this, you will hear that I'm talking about a real person in my electorate.
Members on both sides. The member for Dunkley will just take a seat for a moment. Members on both sides, the level of interjections is too high. Members will cease interjecting. The member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. On the 2nd of February of this year, The Age reported, with a headline of "High childcare costs push 90,000 parents out of the workforce," the story of my constituent, Emily Hovett, who's 33 years old, who works full-time, and her 2-year-old daughter, Margot, is in childcare 5 days a week, and her out-of-pocket expenses are $350. She and her husband, who also works full-time, plan to have a second child. How are they going to pay for it, is what Emily asks. How are they going to pay for $700 a week? Because she says it's a hell of a lot of money and it's going to be really tough, and we have to do it because we don't have any other options. She says it's a bit of a broken system, I think personally. I'm trying to set up a future for my family and show my daughter that women can be successful in the workplace. Well, under a federal Labor government, she'd save over $600,000 a year, assuming she gets a 50% subsidy at the moment, and that's how women will be successful in the workplace under a federal Labor government.
Has expired.